This is the first episode of the podcast between
Us and Endo.
with Fabienne and Lucie.
All right, Lucy. So let's do like a official introduction. Let the people know who you are.
Hi. So my name is Lucy. I am known to be multiple things. A teacher. I do photography. I work on events. I do quite a good bit of things. The reason why I'm here today is because we share a common illness, which is called endometriosis, but we'll give a quick definition after that. And people know me also about carnival. Let's not forget carnival.
All right, give it up for Lucy. All right, so my name is Fabienne. I am known for a lot of things, just like yourself. I ventured into a lot of entrepreneurial projects, I would say. But my most recent and most passionate project that I've had so far was advocating for my illness. And that is how we actually met.
Yep.
And it's endometriosis. So I go by Carib Endo on Instagram, and I try my best to explain what the disease is, or at least explain it in the most humanized way. I'm not going in the deep medical part of it, but I'm going in the lived and shared experiences with endometriosis. So our diagnosis, how we came to know about endometriosis, and how it is to live with endometriosis in
Yep.
this society altogether. So let's just explain you guys more or less what endometriosis is.
So, endometriosis is actually a chronic illness. First of all, it's something that has no treatment as for now. Hoping that happens
Right?
quickly, hopefully. It is often referred to by people who don't know what it is as a bad period. It is not. So, obviously, touching women, it's basically a condition where the tissue, similar to the tissue that we have on the uterus lining, is actually forming out of the uterus lining.
Exactly.
It's causing basically adhesions. So it glues everything together. It creates scar tissue. It could develop also like on your ovaries, on your fallopian tube, sorry.
Yeah.
Endo also has a sister illness, which is called adenomyosis, which only stays actually in the uterus. The main issue with endometriosis is number one, it has no treatment so far. The second thing is also that it tends to develop mostly in the pelvic area, but it can actually grow anywhere in your body. So it could grow like in your abdomen or on your digestive system, in your lungs.
In your rectum. I've had people, well, that's one of my experiences. I've had some family members that got it up in their heart, some people in their eye. So endometriosis, the lesions
Yeah.
travel all over, and that's why they say it's not a woman's disease, although it is, right? But it's not like just a woman thing. It's not
Yeah.
a period thing. It's a whole
Yep.
body disease.
Yeah, it's a whole systemic dysfunction of your body. As you said, it can go on the lung, it could go in your brain, it could go in your eyes. They've realized actually in recent searches that a lot of lungs collapses in women are actually caused by endometriosis. I mean, as you say, we met through your platform because you were advocating for it, and that's how I found you because I had got diagnosed not that long before. So, when you get diagnosed with a chronic illness, you're like, man, I need to know more about it. And when you realize that it's a subject where you don't have much studies on, you end up actually finding answers or a path of answers through people online that share their experience, what might work with them, what might not work, what they've been through, etc. And I'm truly grateful that I found you actually because I think we really clicked ever since that. And because it is definitely a illness where you see people sharing the same path from the diagnosis or from even before the diagnosis,
Yeah.
because you get the diagnosis, but actually your endo has been there before.
Right.
And most of the time, people do not take you serious. As they say, it's just a bad period.
Right. Because even after the diagnosis, then what? You know, that's what you're like, okay, and sometimes you don't even know how to pronounce it. I remember in 2012, it was the diagnosis, and it's like, oh, you have endometriosis. What? And you're living something that you can't even explain to others as well. And that was the toughest part. And the doctor that diagnosed me, with all the pain that I was going through, she, even more surprising, she, the doctor, would tell me it's really not that serious. Like, you could do better than that. Come on, it cannot be that bad. And I'm like, wow. You know, like I looked at you and was like, dang, my hero for discovering what this thing is, although I don't understand it as yet. All you told me is this is what I had, but you're not explaining it to me. So what you did is she created a thing in my head where I felt like I was constantly exaggerating. Like I did not have a reason to feel the way that I felt, or something was specifically wrong with me outside of this little disease that I had, because it was like, okay, not knowing that all these symptoms related to this disease at the time. So it was like you constantly beating yourself up because why can everybody else have their period normal and you have to have it a different type of way?
So I got basically not the same experience, and I got diagnosed way after you actually. I got diagnosed in 2021, late 2021. And through a regular visit to my OBGYN, I told him, can you please check if there's anything wrong with me? Like, I had a friend already that had endometriosis. And I've noticed that we had like common symptoms. So the first reaction of that medical practitioner was like, but why would you want to have that? I'm like, I don't want to, but I feel something is wrong. So he started his diagnosis and he was like, no, look, everything is fine, everything is fine. And he paused. And I was like, let me guess, left side? And he was like, okay, well, I'm going to send you to do a MRI urgently. I'm like, oh, so now we're going from you, why would you want to have something, to
Right.
I'm going to send you urgently to get an MRI. Surgery table.
Oh boy.
So the one thing I would say is that it's a difficult subject, because when you feel something is wrong with your body, when people explain a problem that is recurrent, that comes back, and that they need to know if they have something or not, don't just disregard that.
Yeah.
As a medical professional, I think especially as women, we tend to go through various pain in our entire life because our body is not made the same as man. Like,
Correct.
hormones even could put you in a tantrum real quick. And yeah, you should not be disregarded, because it just adds up to that process of feeling like, okay, you're sick, but what? Like, just keep on living, you know?
Right,
And it starts from
exactly.
before you even get the diagnosis. Like, I've always had, from the time I had my first periods, like, outrageous pain. Like, it's always been quite ridiculous. Like, it had got worse over time, obviously. But yeah, I would just tell people, like, if you feel something is wrong, just go ask the question. Worst case scenario, you're going through a few sets of exams for nothing and you know you're clear. But if you feel something is wrong, just advocate for yourself and ask that question.
Correct. And I'm so happy that we reached a long way from what it used to be to what it is now. And imagine we're still not where we
It should
ought to
be.
be, right? So to think that now people could actually see or hear the name endometriosis and be like, oh my gosh, I know someone that has that.
Yeah.
Although sometimes the taboo in the Caribbean is constantly.
We're getting there though, and it's crazy to see that it took social media and like TikTok or Instagram and everything for people to finally find out what it is and to say, I do know somebody. Like, it's 1 out of 10 women from what we know now, but as diagnoses are getting more frequent, I'm actually thinking, is it more than that? You know, like there's no person that I've talked to about this specific chronic illness that hasn't told me, oh, my cousin has it too, or,
Right.
you know, my sister has it, or whatever. So it is something that is frequent, and there definitely should be way more researches about it.
They should. When it came to your illness and the diagnosis, I just remembered you said that you've had symptoms before then. And how hard was it for you to realize at some point like something has to absolutely be wrong? And how long did it take for you to finally be like, yo, check it out for me. It's beginning to be too much. I need answers as to why this is abnormal.
It took so long because I always felt like my cycle was abnormal, first of all. But it became to the point where, without specifically talking about my period, actually during my ovulation, I was feeling like somebody was trying to remove my inside. But it wasn't happening every month. It was just once every 2 months. And it was always the left side. But to the point that I had like to roll myself in a ball on the floor when I was home at night because of pain, and crying myself to bed and everything, and like not being able to sleep because I felt like somebody was literally trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I am someone that has a very high tolerance to pain, for example. So I was like, how is it that I could like crush my wrist bone, not feel it, go to work for 3 weeks until I drop something on the floor and my hand is like this?
Right.
Every 2 months I have to suffer, like literally I'm dying. So, but I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have asked for a diagnosis if I didn't have a friend that had been diagnosed and that had talked a little bit about it, and I had seen her in conditions where she was in major pain, even though yes, she was still going to work and everything, because people are way more advocating for themselves now. And also, you know, when I was younger and I was telling my mom, oh, I'm in pain, whatever, so she used to buy me Spasfon. And I used to tell her, like, I could eat the entire box. Like, if I would eat M&Ms or Smarties, it would be the same thing. Like, it literally does me absolutely nothing. And even my mom, she was like, oh, but I don't understand. I never had it so bad, whatever. You know, like, it can't be that bad.
Yeah, for sure. And when you don't know, you don't know, like you said.
Exactly.
And you can't give support where you don't understand it either, which...
And also, I think it's also a question of like different generations. Like our parents raised us with a more open mind, but they got raised by people who definitely would not talk about those things.
Correct.
You know, like it was a woman thing. Like at most you would do is maybe talk about it with your mom, but it was not something you were gonna talk about. You know, like in the living room with the family around and be like,
Exactly.
"Hey, I'm getting surgery because I have this."
That is so true. That is so true.
How did it what was your process after you got diagnosed? Like how did you process the information? How did it feel to go through having a diagnosis on something? Like
For me, it was very difficult. I was in France studying. So imagine your first year, you're going up France. You were barely there 6 months, and suddenly, exactly when exam period is coming, you're bleeding out on a chair, and you're like, oh my goodness, you have to go take the metro, pants all bloody, people looking at you crazy, run into a doctor's office and be like, yo, I can't take this pain. Like, look at me right now. And when I got the diagnosis from that incident, 3 months to 4 months later, I got a diagnosis. And what I appreciated at the time is that, first of all, I didn't understand nothing. So even when she came to me and she was like, okay, you have fibroids. I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, I don't get it, you know? And with the fibroids, she was like, but that's not enough. That don't explain the pain. And I'm like, she could have literally stopped there and be like, that's the reason for your pain, because fibroids are not easy.
Yep.
That's the reason for your pain. But she continued and ended up getting with the endometriosis. Now, when I got that diagnosis, you're like, what is it? Because if somebody talking to you about lesions and tissues and outside of the uterus and growing abnormally, and you're like,
What?
you're like, because you're not understanding that this is
Yeah.
a disease. First of all, they don't even know what it is at
Yep.
the extent, the big picture of it. They just understand they themselves, even as women, that it's a period something. They're
Yeah.
not, researchers have not reached where it was supposed to at the time, etc. And then again, nobody talks about it, because when I realized that I have, at least on both sides, so many family members that had it, and they're like, we did not know you had it. I'm like, "Well, I didn't know you had it neither. Nobody spoke on it,
Yeah, it's
So-
like, can somebody give me a heads up?
Yeah.
Like,
So it was rough, especially you went with your parents' money for a purpose, and you feel absolutely useless because you can't even explain why you can't get out of bed, why your period is worse than it even was before, why you constantly going through this depressive state, because technically in the Caribbean we don't believe in depression. It's
Oh.
TV thing,
mental health doesn't exist in
It
the
don't
Caribbean,
necessarily-
everybody is happy and living, like.
or we just do spoil, or and that's not saying that that's how my parents view it, but because of the stigma that we already have in the Caribbean, you're not thinking about, and you yourself, I'm like depressed. I just, it's just maybe the winter.
Yeah.
You're lazy from the
I'm
winter.
just missing the light and heat,
Yeah.
like.
And when I'm looking at myself and I look in the mirror and I'm, baby girl, I'm paler than you are. Like, all this coming out because I've bled out so much, right? And it's like, where is the support? Where is your support?
Yeah.
Where is your, at least you would have a parent or a grandparent that gonna come and sap you down with something. They're gonna give you something to eat, something to drink, because they think they know,
Good soup.
something to build your blood
A
up.
good soup.
Right. So, but you didn't have that. But thankfully, my father was like, yo, go look for my child and see what's popping, But you still cannot explain this. And when you go to a doctor, you can't understand. Your mother can't understand necessarily. The doctor is just like, yeah, but then, and you're like, what? And all I have is painkillers. That's
Yep.
all I have. And for 3 years, I could not advance in my life the way I thought I could have. And I felt like a complete failure, because it's like you got to go back home without even finishing your studies because you can't take it no more. You can't, every time you have a exam, you're on your period, for example, you can't leave
Oh, yeah,
the
it always
bed.
falls at the perfect time.
Funny.
You have a white event, guess what? Hello.
Funny, right? And then the thing about endometriosis that we understood after, it's not on your period only.
Yeah.
It's every single day. And now I explain to people, and sometimes I just blurt it out. I'm like, Miss, my best day is your worst.
Yep.
What I would consider a little bit of pain would take you to the emergency room.
Yep.
Because we've had to just suck it up, or our pain tolerance has gotten higher and higher and higher. Because when people are like, I'm like, maybe it's compared to delivery. I haven't been there yet. I haven't delivered any babies as yet. But when people can compare that pain as scale 1 out of 10, you're like, where are we going with endometriosis? Like, just imagine it.
I mean, the last time, and I really thank this guy in the hospital for that. The last time I ended up in the hospital because of a huge flare-up and huge inflammation, because that's basically what happens with
Yeah.
Endo, as you're saying. It's not only on your period. You're going to wake up one day and you don't know why. It's your worst day.
Yeah.
Meaning you can't get out of bed. You look like a 5 months pregnant woman for whatever reason. You don't know.
It hurts to pee.
It hurts to pee. It hurts to do number 2 if you can do it.
You're afraid to sit down on the toilet. You're afraid to push. You're afraid to let go
Like,
the pee. It's
Can we talk about leg pain?
yo.
Like,
The half
No,
paralyzed leg pain, or the stabbing in the
just somebody
joints.
trained to, as a game, like pinch you.
Oh my
I
goodness.
would bawl. Like, and it is I've realized it, and I didn't understand, because I have a friend that I used to work with. He used to keep pinching me on my thighs. And every time I was screaming, and he's like, what's wrong
Yeah.
with you? And I'm like, it hurts. He's like, I didn't do it
You're
like that
overdue.
hard. And actually, when I got diagnosis, I realized that it is one of the symptoms. Like
Everything
your
is super
legs are
sensitive.
super sensitive. And so back to the thing, last time I ended up in the hospital because of a flare up. I got there and they saw right away that, I mean, I was crying my eyes out. I had drove alone in my car from home to the hospital because I couldn't take it anymore. And when they asked me, how long have you been in pain for? I told them, I said, I haven't gone to work today or yesterday either. And they're like, why didn't you come before? And I said, well, I took some ibuprofen and thought it would just pass. And they're like, you can't just stay like this. Like, it took them 4 pouches of tramadol. For me, actually, on the start of the third one was when I started feeling my pain slowly going down. Like the first 2 pouches, actually, they kept coming back and asking me, "Are you feeling better? How's your pain level?" And I
Man,
was like,
please.
"The same." And you know, and I kept telling them like, "I'm so sorry. You're putting me in a room alone, whatever. When you have maybe other people that you need to deal with." And this guy was, if he recognizes himself, thank you. He was like, "Listen, pain is one of the things we deal with at the emergency room." He's like, "You are in your full right to be there. Please do not excuse yourself. You are diagnosed with endometriosis. We know that your pain level is not regular pain levels. So for a patient with endometriosis to reach at the emergency room at this time of the night, crying our eyes out, we know that
It's serious.
you're completely like,
Distraught.
yeah, and that you need to get the attention because you don't even know how to manage it anymore."
Yeah.
And he was like, "But please, next time, do not wait so long. Come and see us as soon as you're seeing something is wrong, because then we can try to act to make it go back down as soon as possible." And the fact that, number one, it came from a man, sorry to say, but felt so loving in a
Yeah.
way, because I was like, you know, usually, like, already women have a hard time understanding what we're going through, but I mean, poor guys, they're not built like us again. So, and that he was so kind and taking his time, and he was like, "No, we're gonna put you in a separate room. Like, you need to be quiet. We're gonna tone down the light. Tell me if it's too hot or cold or whatever, because also, yeah, the heat rush or next thing." It's like, for people who see me on events, if you think I'm always sweating because it's just the heat, it's not just the
It's
heat.
not. It's
It's
not.
the internal heat.
I just had one recently, like 3 weeks ago, and it lasted a month and a half. And that, I think, was one of the longest flare ups that I had. And there was nothing that anybody could have done for it. I'm someone that tramadol does nothing for me. And for those who
That
don't
doesn't
know
do
what,
anything for me anymore. Like, been on it, now it's like, yep, nope.
it wouldn't do anything for the pain, but tramadol is something that would mess with your brain, basically.
Yep. I mean, it's opium based.
Yeah,
so
it's technically like, think about morphine, but that's what it is, pretty much. And when you take tramadol, you are immediately like, like your brain no longer functions.
yeah, you're in
So
a brain
if
fog. You're in a constant brain
yeah,
fog.
you are drugged up completely. Let's put it like that. But imagine being drugged up and still it's not
Easing up
dealing with
anything.
the issue. The pain is going nowhere, but your body is just limp. You wake up in the morning and you're like, and you can't do anything about it, you know? And that's the only thing still that is going to help you cope. And that's all we want, to be able to cope. It's not easy at all.
Oh.
So having that, it was like every minute a hot flash. And the first thing that I would have people do, "Hi, you're going through premenopause, man." Like, please don't piss me off. Like, act like you have some sense right now. Because most people know my condition. It's
Yeah.
not even like, the tummy is bloated. It's either
You're pregnant?
you're pregnant, or what are you, when they find out you're not, what are you waiting on to be pregnant? Well, I'm sorry. get rid of this disease for me, and maybe I'll think about
It's
something
either
like
that or, again, you would just walk in the street and you meet somebody from like high school or whatever, and they're like, "Why you got fat?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Thank you,
Right.
thank you."
And then these are people that you barely talk to on a daily basis. So why would you approach me in that way? You know? And I don't excuse the Caribbean taboo anymore. Like the saying whatever is coming to your mind sometimes. Because most of the time I'm not in the mood. I'm in so much pain that I cannot think
Yeah.
straight. So I cannot reason with people sometimes. So I'm crashing out 24/7 and I'm looking crazy because I'm in pain. Like, you think I want to hear you with your stupid advices right now? Or
like-
drink tea.
Which tea? So, because we also had this conversation privately, also,
Right.
we know that indeed food and whatever you're putting in your body has a lot to do, like, or even your environment. Like, I love candles, I love incense.
It's not good.
I know, like, it's such an hormone disruptor. Like, and I've realized since I'm doing it less and less, again, it seems to work. But that's also a thing, is that me and you both know you're playing lottery with everything you're doing.
Man.
Every day. It's like, okay, I want to eat
Rabolat.
pastas. Am I gonna die today? Am I gonna
Right.
flare up in the next 10 minutes? Because that's about the time it takes. Or is everything gonna be fine? Like, let's play the Endo lottery today. Like, am I
Yeah.
gonna try to do something that I like to do, knowing it might throw me down the rabbit hole?
Flare up roulette.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
it's like playing dice. So we do know that indeed, like, anti-inflammatory nutrition is better. Let's be honest, it gets boring.
It gets boring.
It gets boring, and again, you feel like, once again, you didn't ask for this.
Restrained.
And exactly.
Trapped.
Restrictions again.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you eating this? Not that I want to, but guess what? If I want to make it to the end of the week.
Right. That's another thing too. Like, there's so many things that come into play. You have to deal with your everyday social life. You have to watch your life. Like, you have to grieve your life daily. The life that you expected for yourself, the life that you would have wanted for yourself. Like, nothing goes the way you would want to go. Even plans for tomorrow, I can't make, and people have a hard time with that because
Yeah.
I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, literally. Am I going to be okay? You know, like, put a positive mind. You know, you got to stop thinking like that. It's not about thinking like that.
No.
Because I'm not waking up like somber every day. I'm just waking up and I have to live by the day.
Yep.
That's it. I'm not choosing how I'm going to be physically.
But
you know?
but I think you used the right word, because that's something I've been using with people, grieving.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when I ask you what was your process, I think grieving what your life should be like, or what it could be like.
When you finally understood. Mm-hmm.
And you have to go through this process, actually, meaning you're going to be pissed at first. Like, there's the incomprehension, there's the you're completely, like, thrown overboard and everything. Then you're starting to cope with it and understanding that your life will be different. And it doesn't mean it's going to be a bad life. It's just that you have to readapt everything.
Correct.
So it is definitely a grieving process.
It is.
And I think it's not just with Endo, I think it's with a lot of chronic illness. So I think it's definitely something that needs to be talked about, because there's the physical part of the disease with the pain, etc., and the pain management. But there's also the whole mental aspect of it.
Our plan with this podcast is to continue expressing our experiences to give a better understanding on what endometriosis is. There are things that I go through, although I have endometriosis, that Lucie has not been through yet, or things that Lucie has been through that I have not been through yet. And so you are still always so alone in that journey, because that's what it is. It's a journey. And despite that, it's always good to have a community. And we've been talking about this for months, almost like years, we could see. This is like 2 years. And it's finally happening, and we are very excited to be able to share, like we said. And we are going to touch on so many topics that will absolutely be relatable. We are more than sure about that.
Yeah, as I said, like whether it's nutrition, things to do or maybe not do, how it affects your relationship with partners, friends, work, family, everything, how to manage yourself, like learn to take a rest. Sometimes a good nap is better than a week of sleep.
Yep.
But yeah, basically listening to your body. And I mean, the both of us have experienced different stuff and similar stuffs. But the main goal is really to advocate and for people to feel like they could actually like get to us if they have a question. They can also rely on us to try to maybe answer some of their questions without them having to ask, just by watching a podcast and being like, oh, they went through this as well, like I'm not alone.
Right.
Like it down the line, it is a sisterhood, it is a community. It's getting bigger online, but it usually is very general, I would say. Even some pages turns very commercial as well, which I find to be sad. But yeah, we're happy to be here,
For sure.
sharing the good stuff
Right?
through the pain.
Through the pain.
But it made us meet each other.
Exactly.
So see you for episode 2.